audiobook producer and platform provider based here in Malaysia. Welcome, Airil. How are you?
Oh, great, Adi. How are you feeling today?
I am feeling wonderful, stupendous. Is the word.
Well, after 4 weeks of running this session, Adi, I think today should be one of the best session. Because
really?
because the speaker that we are getting today ni orang kata bukan calang-calang orang lah.
Bukan kaleng-kaleng.
Bukan kaleng-kaleng.
Oh.
Orang kata, kalau orang Mak Saleh kata bukan biasa doa lah.
Oh. Saya aku tengok dia the madam, she's in Norway sekarang.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Cita-cita.
I think before we start off, Adi, can I just share a little bit on
yes, definitely.
To set on the expectation of the participants.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Adi, for the introduction. From the bottom of my heart, on behalf of Timba Education, thank you so much, Madam Zetty. For making your time available with us today.
Thank you for inviting.
Definitely.
Okay.
And of course, the best is for us to have all our great participants. I know some of you have been following us since the first session, and this is already our fourth session, and inshallah there are more to come.
Okay.
Now, just to share with you guys, if you remember, during the first 3 weeks, we had already run through on IR 4.0. So kita tengok in and out on IR 4.0. We look in terms of how does it actually impact us as students? How does it actually impact your future career? You know, as internal auditor, as a businessman, as external auditor. So and then we have completed the session. And of course, we had Eugene and Shahzan to come in with us last week. So from this week onwards, what we are going to do and what we are going to see, I feel that based on your feedback, at the end of every session, you guys have been giving us feedback. Jangan risau, kita mendengar. Kita bukanlah dipilih, tapi kita mendengar. So
spoken like a true politician.
Only saya.
So we do listen to you, and therefore today we are bringing. I feel that this would be one of our best speaker also to share with you on the Malaysia economy outlook. So without further ado, Adi, I pass back to you. So let's continue the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Airil. To present our main speaker today, she graduated from the University of Malaya in Mechanical Engineering and later on became one of 20 recipients of the prestigious Chevening Scholarship for her Masters in Engineering at the University College London. She began her career as a manufacturing engineer with Samsung SDI before moving to Malaysia Investment Development Authority, or MIDA, as an assistant director in 2008. Now she is the director of MIDA for Negeri Sembilan, tasked to promote investment into Negeri Sembilan, facilitating investors in setting up their companies and day-to-day operations while working together with Negeri Sembilan state government and agency. Madam Zetty Hamimi Zakaria, thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I feel very good, but I'm not sure how I'm going to cope more if I have to stay longer in this house. I can't wait to go and running everywhere.
Kelip-kelip mata tengok kita dah day 46.
Itulah.
More than a month. Bagaimana suasana di Norway?
Norway sangat tenang. Norway sangat tenang. Unfortunately, I don't have any figure for Norway.
Not sure. I dengar Norway is doing fine lah. That's why you moved to Norway, kan?
Yes.
Okay. Join the side now. I'll pass the floor to you, madam.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adi, and also thank you, Airil. Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity, and also especially to Timba Education, because this is the time for me to just explain a bit and just give a glance about what is happening in the current economic situation, not only in Malaysia actually, but actually how it impacts all over the world. Even though maybe my slides will be a little bit dry, so I hope you can get a bit all the information and come up with if you have any question or something that maybe come up from there, which we can discuss after this. Okay, so my topic on the COVID-19 outbreak and how it will impact the Malaysian economy. Okay, so if you know that the current situation is massively being impacted by this COVID-19, which actually just formed just as a tiny virus from the Wuhan, China. So I think from there maybe we can try to start with. Okay, what was it? Okay, just a bit of how to say throwback how it actually happens. I think most of you already know and most of you already aware how the things happen. But then I just want to emphasize here, because of this small issue in Wuhan city in China, because of the unknown case, just a small number of unknown case starting from there, and then it's already been travel everywhere throughout the world, starting from just for few days. I think I still remember end of December started to we started to know about this issue in Wuhan in China, but then early of January they already come out with this COVID-19, the type of virus. It's a new type of virus, and then after that, I think in the middle of January, it's already been transferred to Thailand, and then starting to transfer to the Republic of Korea, and then I think even in the middle and at the end of January, it's already come up here in Malaysia. So with all the spreads, it has been things that is being impacted all over the world that has given a massive, huge impact to the economy of all the countries in the world. Okay, so this is roughly the update, the latest update as at this morning. 3rd of May. So basically, this is the latest one. So basically, you can get it from WHO website. I should source it here, actually. So basically, if you can see here, all the blue dots, all the blue circles, is actually covered all the reported cases in the world. So about 3.2 million people has been infected with this the coronavirus, and then for the total death is already about 230,000 people. And then it has been, most of us know that United States of America is actually one of the biggest country that have lots of massive technology over there. And then they have, if you really understand about how the industry works, it's most because of the starting from the revolution during the European Revolution, and then transferred to America. But then what is happening now? So you can see that the circle is the biggest in America, and I can say that it's not only about the technology itself, but it's how we work together to overcome this issue. And then if let's say only one person doing it right, and then the other 10% is still not taking it seriously, then that is actually what's happening in America. You can see that I just want to share a bit, because I have a chit chat, I can say, with one of the company in US. So the company said actually they have a very strong way of to avoid all these issues in their own company. But the problem is whenever they go out, they will spread everywhere. They are still in the beach going for you see, it's almost summer.
I think because of summer kan.
Because it's all the summer. So sekarang ni everyone is there, and then not even beach, even go to the party, they can't even control it. It's because of the attitude itself. And from here I can say that Malaysia is one of the best how we control ourselves, even though of course we can see lots of culprit over everywhere kan, at the highway going everywhere, still sitting at under the tree to have some chit chat with their friends, among their friends and that. So, but still, that's just a minor cases that we can grab on. Okay, so what happened next? These are the things that happen right after we know that during the during the first, can I say 200 cases in Malaysia, we start to do the restriction of movement in 18th of March 2020. So these are the things, one of main things happening now. Most of the countries all over the world are having this lockdown, and then some of them are also going for restriction of movement. And then for those companies that having lockdown, they can't even operate anything. And then the things that they can operate is only on the essential services. So when we talk about the essential services for different country have a different I can say what they call it definition, different criteria. Okay, different of type of services they are focusing on. Like for example, the lockdown, I can say restriction of movement in Netherlands, for example. Even their opium shop also is still open. So that's how they say that it is very essential for them. But then for some company, like for example, lockdown in China, especially in Wuhan area, they do really operate as a lockdown status, just like what we had as a PKPD now. Okay, what PKPD is diperketat, right?
Oh,
Diperketat.
EMCO,
EMCO.
enhanced MCO.
Yes, enhanced MCO. So, like in China, they also have this enhanced MCO in Wuhan area, but then they are still allowing metal steel companies to operate. So that's how different their definition of essential products, essential services, activities. But then for roughly what I can just mention in average, most of the shutdown will happen in most of the countries, except for the essential services and also important manufacturing products producer. Okay, and then how they're going to control the movements. Of course, as usual, I think most of us already aware, social distancing, wear face mask. Alhamdulillah, I don't need to wear any face mask now. Okay, so sanitizing work. This is one of the things that most of the companies, not only globally but in Malaysia, they're also having the problem to comply with this. Okay, even we have to make a condition for them to do the production, they do operate, they need to sanitize their workplace 3 times every day at least. Okay, but then
Madam, so like
Yeah.
for the companies that are allowed to be operate right now, I think because previously for the past 2 weeks there are certain companies who are allowed to operate at the 50% rate. So one of the SOPs for them to operate is that they would have to sanitize their workplace, right?
Yes, correct.
Oh, okay.
So and then it's a condition for them to sanitize their workplace. Okay, so if let's say we find out that they're not sanitizing their workplace, we can revoke their approval. Okay, so we can take back, and then they can be penalized for not following because this is the act under the Ministry of Health, and they have to follow exactly whatever condition that we put in. So this is one of the way that we do to ensure that the outbreak we can what the normal term that they use to break the chain, right? So this is one of the way that they do. So other thing is like close the border. If you can see that there's no other movement of from foreign countries to Malaysia, or even Malaysia to other countries, and even for other countries as well. Like for example, in Thailand already closed their borders since I think early of March. or end of February, from what I remember. So, and then specifically to Chinese people. So I think that's one of the way for them to avoid and to eliminate this, to break the chain of the coronavirus. And then one of the other things, like I mentioned just now, is about the enhanced MCO. Okay, so enhanced MCO, like I mentioned, in China they do it in Wuhan, and then in Italy they also do it in certain areas. Also, like in Malaysia, we are doing it in certain areas, like you already know. I think it's been reported every day by Dr. Hisham, the MOH DJ, right? So the unique crisis. I like to use the term unique crisis. I keep on thinking about what's the difference between this time crisis and also compared to the previous time crisis. So if you can see in 1998, in 2008, so this is actually based on my, I can say my perception, my view on the crisis this time. So if you can see the last 10 years and the last 20 years, the crisis that we had was that everything is about the downturn of the economy directly, because of the industry issue, okay, because of the bubbling issue, because of the property price increasing, whatsoever that you want to call it. So, but then during that time, if you can see, whenever there's a crisis, losing jobs, whatsoever, the demand will straight away going shot down, and then there's not even a supply. Of course there's no demand, and why do they need to supply, right? So but then if you talk about this time, you can see that this is because of the virus. It's not because of like the normal economic issue, not because of war. Okay, so basically it's not because of war, not because of trade war or whatsoever that you want to call. But then in this crisis, we have a deeply, like I put it here, deep supply shock. We have a very deep supply shock, and we have because of the consequent demand shock. We have so many demand, but the problem is to supply. Okay, so still, even though we have this crisis, we have this economic crisis, but we have lots of demand. Like for example, I think just yesterday I talked to a company. They told me that they receive 160% lah. I put it here, 160% of demand for their products. Okay, and they cannot cope with that. They cannot cope with the supply. Okay, and then for like the other company, especially for like medical and food companies, their supply is like even double and triple from what have been supplied before this. And then if you can see all the I think all the makcik term, most of the even the household, I mean like for the micro businesses, especially in this food line, even in the sanitizers, sometimes just small businesses, very micro, they just do it sanitizer packing at their house. So just at home, they manage to increase the demand more than triple, and they can't really cope with that. It's very it's a unique for me. It's unique. Okay, and then because the supply is really they do what we have a problem in supply, but we have a really big demand for it. So it's all because of this issue. But if you turn back to the whatever reported by the IMF, whatever reported by the UNCTAD, so the global economy will contract by 3%. Okay, in 2020, global economy. We are not talking about Malaysia itself. Okay, but then obviously, if the global economy contract by 3%, of course, Malaysian economy will also contract. Okay, because it's all related, interrelated between others. So, and then what the UNCTAD mentioned is that capex decline. I put here is in China because the first they put it is in China because of the outbreak started in China. For the first 2 months itself is already minus 25%. Okay, and then the decline for 5,000 MNEs after post-global crisis about minus 20%. Everything is about minus. Even FDI after the global financial crisis also minus 35. And everything has some explanation on this. Okay, even average dependence, but this one is quite unique. Another unique thing is that we are depending on FDI. And we can say that this is really happening. If you can see, like for example, decline in FDI, global financial crisis, minus 35%, but you need another FDI for more than 50%. Why is this happening? If you can see in Malaysia, okay, I don't want to talk further to other countries. Maybe I can just take like America after this. In Malaysia, we have lots of supply of glove. If you read anywhere that Top Glove give like a full swing, 100% capacity, not even 100%, more than that, they even have to expand at this time of moment. So can you see how actually the demand is? Like, but that this kind of powerhouse, this kind of I can say local manufacturers, they have to focus more on internally first. Okay, that's why the FDI means like for them to go abroad, for them to go to like for example Vietnam or maybe Indonesia, whatsoever. They know that the best way for them to grow further is only in Malaysia. Okay, like for example, for US company, I can see that most if you read that what Donald Trump has been calling all the US company to come back. They give lots of incentive. They give lots of like benefits to this company if they're coming back to America. So why are they doing that? Because they need the supply to be there in US. After this, because of this issue, we learn the lesson that supply chain is very important. So that's why they want to call back their companies, the American companies, to come back to US. And that's the reason why for American companies to go to other countries, like even to Malaysia, they will think twice, no, triple. So it will be so that's the thing that they need to think of. And then the average, so for our side, we are depending as well to FDI because lots of like products or maybe supply materials whatsoever, we don't have the capability to produce it ourselves.
But
Okay.
but sorry, but madam, if let's say now being this crisis that we are going through, right, and then we are now also depending on the FDI. So would there still be any countries who are actually still investing in Malaysia?
Okay, I just talked to one of the MNC last week about this. They are American company. They want to still invest in Malaysia because of the environment, because of how we what I can say, it's more on political environment in Malaysia. Okay, they like it here. Everything is quite stable, and the way we treat people, the way we control all the economic what I can say, climate here is very suited for them. Okay, but then because of the calling by the American government, they need to think back on how to stay relevant here. Okay, so that's the thing. So they want to be here, but it's kind of forcing them to go back to America. So now they are thinking, how can they actually do that? I mean, like to be. They want to be here, but they need to be there. So, okay. So it's quite difficult. But then for some country, like for example, there is American company. Like for some country in Japan, for Japanese, for example, Japanese already announced that for those Japanese company in China, they want this company to relocate, come back to Japan, or being anywhere inside the world, wherever other country, but they don't want them to be in China. I think one of the reason why was because China during the lockdown, they have blocked whatever exportation from China from the China country to other country. So because of the blockade, So these countries, like for example, because Japanese companies, there are lots of Japanese companies in China, as we know. For other companies, even Malaysia companies also are there in China. So for Japanese, this is one of the how to say, one of the best FDI that maybe for Malaysia we can try to attract. Okay, so I think for like for our current climate, our current incentive, our current condition, Japanese, most of them are very likely to be here in Malaysia, and we also have this look is policy all this while. So they are very, they are very likely to be in Malaysia. So it's just how we're going to attract them. Okay.
Okay.
So
Alright. Let's go
so
next.
that's it. Next. Yeah. Okay. This big. Okay, this big picture.
Abah.
Yeah, Tok Ayah.
Oh, Tok Ayah, Abah.
Okay, so because of this issue, the government decided to implement RMO, the Restriction of Movement Order, or they call it also as a Movement Control Order (MCO), beginning of 18th of March 2020. Okay, so basically everyone knows about this, and until today, we've already like 4 weeks already. And can't wait to go out. Okay, so this is so during this speech, I still remember that he mentioned that the essentials will continue. And then he lists out all the essentials activity, all the essential products. So these are the things, okay? Utilities, telecommunication, the food industry, agriculture, household. So these are the things that are very essential for us. And then only this kind of company and its related companies can operate within this phase one of the MCO. And okay, so what happened next? So if you can see, since only few of them can operate, of course we're going to have problem with the household income. There will be lots of companies that will be retrenching their workers, or maybe reducing their salary or something. But Alhamdulillah, from my understanding, there's not many companies that are doing retrenchment or something related to that. But of course, layoff, there are some, but still at least layoff, they are just for a while, and then they're going to call them back. So in terms of like employment, the problem of employment, the unemployment issue is only during this period. But then still, it will give huge impact, and then that's the reason why we come up with the economic stimulus package. Okay, but then in my slide, I just put about the stimulus package regards to businesses, not much on the even though
Household.
the impact, yes, also being to the household, but then still I would like to focus on the businesses. Okay, so if you can see here, profit estimation, riba with the penalty, so all these are including all the package for the household. They are spending about, the calculated is about 250 billion. Okay, that is the spending for by the government. But then after recalculation, it seems like what I read somewhere inside the PM office slides, and also some circulation, seems like it's the spending maybe will be lesser because of some of the takers will be lesser. Okay, so I think if you can see free internet, I think most of the even all the audience can also enjoy some of the stimulus package, right?
But
yes?
madam, I think one of the incentive given by the government was on the wage scheme kan, yang from SOCSO for those employees,
Yes.
for those employer who doesn't do any retrenchment.
Yes.
But then yesterday, I think somewhere I read, and people were talking all over Twitter, stating that SOCSO decided to stop on the incentive because they are facing insufficient funds. So
Mm-hmm.
is that actually true?
Okay, for me, from what I understand of the article is that so is still studying, and whatever that they already publicized, that is the thing that they're going to do. I mean, like, of course, in terms of funding, they are also having what backup from the government, and then the 250 billion that we are mentioning about is not only whatever stated as a direct how to say, direct cash to the receiver, but it's actually also through SOCSO, also through the EPF, also whichever that they can back up. That is actually how the 250 billion is coming from. So if you're talking about SOCSO doesn't have enough fund. Of course, I think for even like all the bank institution also, if you're talking about that, how can they have enough fund if they keep on using but they don't have any backup? So I think that's the most important thing. So, but then what I understand, they do have backup. It's just that how the mechanism of them to get the backup from the government. So that's why I think they are still in the midst of discussion on that, and hope it can still be done. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't think I need to explain further on
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah.
this one is the second of also regards to economic stimulus package. So there are a few others which I didn't put it in. Okay. So basically, what I want to mention is that this economic stimulus package coming in, especially right after the, like, a week after the a week or two after the enhancement of the enforcement of the MCO. Okay, this is actually just to make sure that the economy activity is still going on inside the country. Okay, so Bank Negara Malaysia, they predict that the GDP is projected between -2 to 0.5. Then this is, of course, when we see the figure, is really bad. Okay, like in 2019, our GDP is about 4.3%, even though previously we are expecting about 4.7%, still 4.7 to 4.9 from what I remember. But of course, the real GDP after that calculated to be only 4.3%. And we actually in the first early January, we can say that the first prediction is about 4.5%. But unfortunately, because of these COVID-19 issues, coronavirus, it has really what impact the economy, not only to the global economy, but also Malaysia. We are not accepted. Then the projection will be about -2 to 0.5. So 0.5 will be the best. But this is based on the first MCO that we are actually facing. So since we are now starting to operate 100%, and then start all the activities except for those a few activities that's been announced, basically we can see that the projection of the I can see that it will increase some other way. Okay, so most probably it will increase up to even 2%, for at least 2%, for the end at the end of 2020. So it's quite
From
challenging. Yeah.
from your point of view, madam,
Yeah.
do you think that this recession, perhaps, or the crisis that we are going through, economically, would it end by 2020, and can we actually get out of this mess by 2021?
Okay, if you ask me about this 2020, I don't think, that's why I just mentioned the max. I think most probably we can achieve 2%. Okay, to get out of this mess, truly is very difficult unless we manage to have that vaccine as soon as possible. Okay, but then what we understand from the Ministry of Health do mention that the vaccine will be only made available like maybe next year. So because what I read is about 18 months. So 18 months is quite a long time. So for everyone to get the vaccine, until all the kampong side also can get the vaccine, I think it may take about 2 years. Okay.
Okay.
So I think if let's say we're talking about 2020, maybe after this because we lift up our MCO quite early compared to the earlier announcement. It should be 12th of May, but then after that we have really released quite early, 4th of May, and then from my understanding, our GDP will get better. Instead of 0.5, maybe it can be go up to 2%. But as long as we can have a proper, how to say, how the how what to say, the attitude of everyone. Okay, so just to make sure that everyone is having all the same page on taking care of ourselves, all the social distancing, face mask, whatsoever that you want to say, this is taken care by all of our civil in Malaysia. So I think if you ask about 2021, I think honestly 2021 will be a big boost for Malaysia, because you can see because first of all, for glove industry, okay, glove industry, now they already know Malaysia is actually the, when you say top glove, it's really the top glove manufacturer in the world.
In the world,
okay?
in the world.
In the world, yes, we're talking about in the world. And the market share of glove industry is about at least 60%. Okay, from what I discussed with the glove manufacturers in Malaysia, even in Negeri Sembilan, because we have lots of glove manufacturer there, they even say that their production get increased like 200%. So quite a lot, and they are now even have to expand further for that. So now and then another few coming in industries that are going to show up is the face mask production. The PPE production. So these are the things that we are trying to promote more, because we know that we do believe that with this, all the supply chain, with all these products in Malaysia, if we are going to have this kind of crisis again, we are prepared. Okay, so next for the what research by the MIER, reduction in industrial output trade by 40% to 70% during MCO. So I like to quote that is during the MCO. Okay, so of course 40% to 70% is because of the if we can see that only essential products can be produced and not other kind of products, so that's why the outputs become lesser. But if you can see, what I understand is that the output trade only at least 40%, not up to 70% of reduction, because we have lots of order even to other countries, like for example, the I like to mention about glove, because that's the thing that's really massively requested by throughout the world. Even the US, if you can, I'm not sure if you're aware that for American, they are not supporting forced labor market, and they are telling us that glove manufacturing always talking about forced labor. Okay, but then because of this issue, because of COVID-19, they have to open their border and put aside the forced labor issue. So they have to import all the gloves from even Malaysia. So that's one of the thing. So finally they have to like put aside, we need to go and find it. So, no matter what, as long as we get it. Okay, so for example, even in Europe as well, they have to after they know that Malaysia is going to enhance this movement control order, they straight away make a trade agreement with Malaysia, because they are afraid. They afraid if, let's say, we are closing the border for any export of the gloves, they're not going to have enough glove for them. Alhamdulillah, in Malaysia we have enough. I think we have enough glove. Quite okay lah. I cannot say it's totally enough, but it's quite okay. We don't have that kind of crisis that much, but now the companies is in the process of going for expansion to supply to all this market. Okay, but then another thing that I don't really like with this research is that 2.4 million is expected to lose their jobs. But then what I can be a little bit relieved is that it's mainly on the unskilled workers. Okay, so when we talk about unskilled workers is those workers that more on operators job, doing general job. Okay, so if most of the unskilled workers are mainly by the foreign workers, so basically it's quite, I think for me, I'm quite relieved about that. But then, of course, the latest figure, whether the 67% is consists of how many percent of foreign workers and local, I'm not really sure. But then, still, because of the unskilled workers are those that making up the numbers. So at least I can say that the skilled workers, the professional workers, still is still needed in the market. Okay. So MCO3, phase 3, additional essentials, of course, due to this crisis whatsoever, so they started to plan to open up new sectors. Okay, machinery and equipment, aerospace, even cars, manufacturers also starting to operate, electronics, whatsoever. So these are the things actually being done because to actually resolve the issue of economy. So slowly, gradually to make sure that the economy is not wounded too deep, I can say. Yeah. So Dr. Hisham keep on repeating about their cases, the latest cases whatsoever. And then this is yesterday's information saying that a new case is about 105. I thought it's going to be reduced further, but unfortunately, it started to be 3-digit still. And then, yes?
Madam, coming from the ground, because I think yesterday, Friday, on Friday, when the Prime Minister has actually informed that they are going to open up 100% of all the economy sectors. So, and even up until yesterday, there was what do we say? What's the word for it? About 113,000 has actually signed the petition.
Yes. Did you sign it?
No, I didn't sign it because I wanted to hear from you first. No, because people are concerned. Okay, right now we are opening the economy on Monday, but at the same time now we are facing 3 digits instead of 2 digits or going down to 1 digit. So are we actually prepared? Are we actually prepared? Yeah.
So if you're asking, are we actually prepared? If you're talking about us, I think for those people with, I can say, education, with good education background, with good attitude, with good how to say, humanity. Okay, so these are the people that could help in reducing the numbers. Okay, but then if we're talking about the other side, like those people that always talk about themselves, always being very selfish, because we have these selfish people throughout Malaysia, not only at one side, but all the other side is spreading. So if not, how can they go back, balik kampung right after the announcement? Right? PM already mentioned, the Prime Minister already mentioned, don't go back, stay put where you are, at home, don't go anywhere. But the next day, it's rushing everywhere.
So that means from your point of view, it means right to say that when can we be totally prepared, we would never know. But instead, everyone would have to play their role in this recovery stage. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Because we are responsible with all the issues. Because this is a national issue. This is a global issue. It's not only for certain part. So if you ask whether we are prepared or not, I think most important is we have to create, whether, I'm not sure whether they are not aware. I think they are already aware of the issue, but then we have to really give some enforcement. If there's any wrongdoings, is if they are not following the rules, or maybe the condition that I already mentioned, then we have to enforce it to them. So I think if you ask me whether we still need to continue with the MCO, living in MCO can actually impact, a lot to the economy. And then I'm afraid, if let's say if we still continue with the MCO, I'm afraid that there will be lots of companies that will be shutting down. Okay. So if they're shutting down, for them to open back is very difficult. For us to promote back is very difficult, because for us to call them and promote the investment, to promote these companies to be in Malaysia, is not that easy. Okay. So, so, and then especially to all those big companies, it's not that we are the government is being very selfish. It's not that we are not thinking of others, but then that's the reason why we put in as a conditional. Okay, so we want to still have this economy to be running, I cannot say normal, but then at least start and stop wounding the environment. But then at least everyone need to follow the rules. But then for some cases, of course, we heard a lot that even the employees can actually follow the condition, but unfortunately, even the employers are not following it. So those are the things that if we receive any reports, any complaints, then we will straight away take we will enforce on whatever that we can to those particular individuals, or maybe companies whatsoever. So that's the thing. So if you ask me, again, are we prepared? Honestly, we are not prepared. Honestly, we're not prepared. But then, how long more we have to wait? So, because if we still keep on waiting, there will be more burden to the country. That's the thing that we can say. Okay. So, okay. Talking about that, that's already an answer, because I think during the speech, the Prime Minister already mentioned, we have lost about 2.4 billion a day. And then total until the 1st of May is about 63 billion already. Okay. And then if we continue until 12th of May, it's going to be 98 billion. So it's quite a lot. And even the government have planned to spend about 250 billion, but we are like making loss another 98 billion. So you can just add up how much spending is actually, loss to the country. Actually, I cannot say losses for the 250 billion, because that's how the economic stimulate, and then how people will spend and do something. But then to lose about 98 billion, that's kind of too much actually. Okay, because this is just a number, 98 billion. But what if we still continue? Companies shut down, we will lose all the jobs, and then companies, people will get no money to live, and then all the consequences will be there. Okay. So next, so this is how they try to cover all the issues of the MCO, the impact of the MCO to the economy. So on the April 29, if you can see, 29 April and 1st of May is very near. So 29 April, they allow 100% capacity for those approved by MITI. So Ministry of International Trade. So but then the 100% capacity is only on the manpower and productivity only for those that are approved by MITI. So it's very strict, still strict. Okay, before this is 50%, but then now it's only 100%. But in 1st May, because we cannot withstand with 2.5 billion a day, so on the 1st May, Prime Minister already announced all activities can be resumed, but only for those activities, certain activities that cannot be proceed, like for all those that related to entertainment, tak payahlah laro. Okay. sedih sebenarnya. Cannot go to the movie.
Cannot go movie kan. But this all these activities kan, even though like macam they are allowed to operate, but then there are strict SOPs being put in place. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
But then how would the government agencies actually monitor whether they need ikut SOP, tak ikut SOP? How would they monitor?
Like we did starting from the first MCO phase 1, every agencies are playing their role. Okay, like for MIDA, we are going to check all the industries together with MITI, and then for like KPD and HEP, they're going to check all the suppliers of the even supermarket and all that. So it depends on the agencies. Whatever agencies, related agencies, they will check on each particular under their purview. So basically, and then at the same time, we also get helps from the PBT as well, the local council. Okay, like I myself, because I working with in my Negeri Sembilan, and then mostly related to Negeri Sembilan. So in Negeri Sembilan, we have Majlis Bandaraya Seremban. So like for example, MBS, they really go into go and spot check lots of companies, just to make sure that all these companies are really following the SOP, the guideline that we put in. So I think if you're talking about how are we going to enforce this, I think if let's say if the CMCO, the conditional MCO is being just only for throughout few months, I don't think that's any issue, because everyone is working hard every day. Even for the MBS, they work like even at night, until night, even early in the morning, 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, going to the market, just to make sure that everyone is following the condition or the SOP. So everyone is playing their role. And then in terms of the agency, so I really hope that to ease the burden, if let's say all the industries, all the players, industrial players, all the businesses whatsoever, we really need help from them as well, to make sure that they follow the guideline. Because if we keep on doing like going everywhere and just to make sure that everyone is following the SOP, it's tiring. It's really tiring. But then of course, just for a few months, we are expecting that only for a few months. So that's why we go into full force and hope that everyone will follow their SOP, and hope that all the businesses will follow as well. Okay. This one. Okay, so what about for the future? So I think we know that we have learned a lot during this a month, not a month. Is it a month? I think it's already 2 months, right?
Almost 2 months. Almost
2 months. So after these 2 months, we can see that lots of issue which we need to take care of. I mean, like, we need to focus on what we should have in our country. How are we going to uplift everyone? How are we going to upgrade everyone? How are we going to upgrade our living in terms of any crisis? So we're not only talking about the crisis over virus, this small virus, but then also if let's say there's any other crisis that coming in, how what is actually the most important thing for us to live on. Okay, so basically the first thing, this is basically from my own perception, and then I can say that because there's no plan coming up from the from the government itself, so I think that this is very one of the few of the things that very important for them to focus on. So we can see we have a problem with the agriculture activities. I mean, like the supply from agriculture activities. This is the time that we can see everyone is looking for food, looking for like how to say, the we eat rice, right? So
Basic
the rice,
needs lah.
yeah, all the basic needs. So now we know that Malaysia is having problem with our rice security. We import a lot, and then during this time of crisis, we need to make friends. I mean, like, not to say we are not friends with Thailand or this one, but the network and also the relationship with Thailand is need to be very strong for us to get the security, the rice security from them. So it's quite like important for us to also have our own. So I think that's how we have to start thinking on how to actually strengthen on the agriculture activities as well, and not only on rice, but also for other foods, fruits, or maybe vegetables, whatsoever. All we need to think, and then that's why it come up with the food security. So I think until today, from what I remember, one of the meeting that I attended, our food security is like maybe 40% of the total that we have. So means that another 60% is being imported. So I think when it's being imported for 60%, and during this time of crisis,
Expensive.
Can you imagine if, let's say, there's a blockade from other countries? How are we going to import them? And with 32 million people inside Malaysia, and with only 40% to live in, I think there will be really massive panic attack at the end of the day. So it's very dangerous. And then during this time, of course, I think for promoting healthcare, medical, and all related industry, this is very important, because I still remember last time, from like MITI, we are actually promoting medical extensively. So even healthcare. Okay, so and of course we can see that this need to be continued, because you can see how healthcare and also medical is very important during this time. And I think even though not during the crisis over virus, I think if, let's say, there's a war whatsoever that we want to call, still healthcare, medical is one of the things that is very important. Okay, and then telecommunication, broadband facilities. Now we are using broadband, and I think if you can, and almost every day. And if I go somewhere else inside the house, also still there will be some lagging. We really need to upgrade our telecommunication, and we really need to upgrade our broadband facilities, because these broadband facilities, this telecommunication facility is not only used for in our life just to have a chit chat or just to have some discussion whatsoever, but it is important to also give the, like, for example, the next one on the e-learning, e-commerce. So we are emphasizing on that. But then, because we are talking about industry 4.0, but what about the facility? Is it there? Is it ready? So that's how we have to make sure it will be upgraded. And then
I think, madam, the government really have to push for the telecommunication, especially when we are going to have our Hari Raya via Zoom.
Yeah.
We are going to have all our open house on Zoom. Everyone is invited. I think we would like to invite everyone for our Zoom open house.
Virtual online.
Virtual Raya.
Virtual Raya.
So make sure everyone is wearing your baju Raya. Okay. So that's important. That's why upgrade. But then, if you still remember, in budget 2018, there is budget for the telecommunication broadband upgrading about just 19 million ringgit. 19 million. I'm not sure whether 19 million is enough, but then after some discussion until today, we are yet to get that budget coming in. But then I heard it's in tendering process and all that. But then, of course, due to some white paperwork whatsoever they need to do, so of course it's going to be a bit lag. So we're waiting for that. But I don't know if you are talking about 90 million. I hope it's enough. But then it seems like
it's not.
it does not,
Yeah, no, I don't think
because
so.
this 19 million is only for the industrial area, not talking about the people inside at the kampong side or whatever. Because all these people in kampong also, they have to start with e-learning. So why? How can we left them out? We can't. So that's how we need to upgrade the facilities. Okay. So on the, I also think that they need to empower the SMEs and also the micro companies and all that. So, and also the startups, because from there we can actually create more jobs. And then from SMEs, because we have lots of companies, big companies starting from SMEs. And for me myself, I still remember handling one company from a shop lot, and now have become a very big company, and even the owner have become one of the richest richest in Malaysia. So
Wow.
so I still
Do you mind sharing which company is that? Maybe we can buy their shares or something.
oh my god, buy their shares. Okay. I think I don't mind sharing on that, because I think this is one of the good example of the company. Like for example, if you know Vitrox Technologies, Vitrox is I think it's a small company last time doing their target is only on vision inspection. That is actually their product. And then now the CEO of the company, MD or CEO of the company, he already become one of the richest men in Malaysia. And that is really, I mean, like when I read that, I'm like, oh my god, I still remember how I went to your company. It's small company. So it's really, I mean, like, it's a good feeling to see that. I mean, like, for me myself, because that is my passion. I mean, like, I like to see people growing. I like to see like those companies or those SMEs from small company become a very big company. Like it is, I don't know, being looking at this outstanding company is like, I don't know, raising your children. Okay. So next, implementation of the automation and also Industry 4.0. This is very important. I mean, like, for those companies, actually, if you can see that for food industry, for the medical industry, I think for medical side, medical equipment, most of it is skilled workers, and they are using automation and also smart manufacturing. But then if you're looking about like glove industry, they still have to use lots of workers, general workers especially. So I really hope that there's a way for us to think on how to actually automate the process and reduce the dependency to the foreign labor, especially. I don't mind if, let's say, they are using general workers from locals, but then because of the usage of foreign labor is quite huge in Malaysia. And then if, let's say, we are having a problem with the G2G, like what we have in between us and Indonesia before this, and what we had, I think, even though it's already been resolved, and then everyone has been like having the same conclusion of helping each other, but then during the crisis, during the issue, the crisis of the foreign labor supply, we do have lack of it, and it makes the process, the production to be a bit slower. So that's what we need to think of. And then if we're talking about the COVID-19, the impact of it, you can see we still need a lot of foreign workers during this time. How are we going to call upon all the foreign workers from other countries during MCO? So it's quite like, there's a burden there. There's a burden. Okay. And then digital ecosystem. So if you're talking about digital ecosystem, now we are in digital world already. So it's all about virtual. So, and then if we are talking about the digital ecosystem, it's not only about having meetings in Zoom. Okay, we also need to think of how are we going to make the process on logistic, what transfer of item at the port. On the lots of things actually. So how are we going to digitize the ecosystem, digitize the process so that we can live in digital ecosystem? So there's no need for us to be 100% physical at that particular area that we need to. So those are the things that maybe we can try to live on. I still remember last time when I worked with Samsung SDI, everything is paperless. Everything is digital. Okay, even approval from the Korean side, even approval in our daily tasks. Even if we want to connect with all other members, even to the CEO, everything is digital. So
Which year was that?
2007, 2006.
Wow. Wow.
Everything is digital, and then even inside the manufacturing facility, for example, we are already talking about automation and how to get the information on real time basis. We just don't have Industry 4.0 during that time. Okay, so yes, they already have the facility. They already have the enablers. Sorry, I cannot say the enablers. They already have the readiness, but they just don't have the enablers. Okay, so they already have the automation system there, processing line, whatsoever. Everything is automated, but because of the enablers, like for example the connectivity issues, it's only that thing. Which currently, if they implement that, is done. They already in a smart manufacturing. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And then
so from your point of view, I mean your experience with Maida. So what about the local companies? Are we actually already on the same pathway, or only now we are actually embarking, of digital ecosystem of having this?
Actually, we already started with the Industry 4.0 awareness since 2012. 2015, around that 2015. I mean, for Malaysia, and then we do have this even Industry 4.0 blueprint, national blueprint. So basically, we already moving forward into the Industry 4.0, and we have certain incentive for those companies, particular companies that undertake automation activity with Industry 4.0, implementing Industry 4.0. They have certain incentive for them. So basically, we are already inside there. It's just that we don't really forcing them. Okay, so basically, it's not that we want to force everyone, but because it will actually incur lots of investment for the companies, because for them to invest, they have to think of their cash. They have to think of their cash flow. How are they going to invest on that? So it's quite difficult to actually force them, but we do encourage everyone. And then how we encourage them? With these facilities that everyone can get certain incentives, certain tax exemption, certain income tax facility, if let's say they are investing in there. So if you take the risk, we will give you the benefit. So it's something like that. Okay. So then upgrade talent. Okay, this another thing that on my perspective is that we need to upgrade our talent and also skill of the manpower that we have. So basically, if you can see that for those companies, like I share the data just now, about 67% of unskilled workers have lost their jobs. Okay, so Alhamdulillah, I can say that 33 workers, that one is under skilled workers. And what I understand, 33% are more on the I'm not sure, not on engineering side, but it's in overall actually. But then for us to do for us to lift up our value is actually on the education, is on actually on our skill, our talent. Coming on, we are implementing Industry 4.0, everything is automated, we are going to go into digital. So we are no more depending on general workers, no more depending on operators. So we need people with professional background. Okay, so from there, everything will be done like in digital way. So everything so it will be in a creative way, I can say. So
Okay.
so that is very important. So I think even until today, there's a lot of like I mean like apa nak kata usaha from the government side. They are trying their best. I mean to make sure that everything, all the talents that we have being uplift, the skill that we have. Like for example, you yourself also must be having lots of professional certificate. This is one way of upgrading the skill, and then to make sure that you are not only depending on certain one job that can be done by only the a computer. So we have to be more better resilient than the computer itself. So that's the thing. So if we can be better than that, then I don't think that's any worry for us to maybe lose our jobs whatsoever, because we can still make our living from there. And then I think I still remember that last time, if I think most of it is being forwarded by the World Economic Forum, about 6.1 million professional jobs will be created by 2022. And these professional jobs will be related back with regards to the digital ecosystem. And this digital ecosystem is not only related to only IT, because when we talk about digital, everyone is talking about IT. So not really. So it's actually about most of the professions that we have. And some of them, I still remember one of my friend that I'm quite like, can I say adore? I don't know. Okay, so she have this engineering. She has the economic background, but she is major in economic but minor in IT. So that's how she do the match. And then from my understanding, she can actually, even though she's a major in economic, but then if let's say one day everything is digitized whatsoever, so she can play the role getting inside the ecosystem and playing with the IT part at the same time. So this is how we can uplift ourselves. So
Okay.
try our best. And then so another thing, we need to put investment to complete the ecosystem. I think in Malaysia, like for example in medical, okay, we have medical equipment manufacturer. Okay, we have the manufacturer to assemble the complete one, but we don't have enough supplier of the small parts, which the small parts we need to get it from foreign countries, from Thailand, from Singapore. Like for example, PPE material, like, because we are currently having problem with the coronavirus. We are talking about PPE. Hospitals are talking about, we are having issues in getting supplies of PPE. Okay, so PPE manufacturer, we have the PPE, how to produce the fabric, to produce the complete PPE, but then we don't have the one who produce the material. Okay, so that's our problem. So for us to get the one produce the material is from Japan, is from other countries, okay, from Singapore. So we need to have our own. I mean, during this kind of crisis, when everyone is stopping their border, closing their border, so at least we know this is how we can secure whatever that we have inside. Okay, and then another one is that it seems like for ASEAN countries, we are actually a neighboring countries, and I can see that lots of supply chain is within this area. So I think one more thing, I think even the government is doing their best to cooperate with all the ASEAN countries to make sure that all the supply chain will never stop, and then everyone will work together. So it's just like what happened in Europe. Okay, I still remember that they have a plan to have one ASEAN, what do you call it? Monetary, I think it was over there. So, but then I'm not sure how they're going to do that, and then I'm not sure if, let's say, they already stopped doing the planning for that. But then for me, it is actually one of the good things that maybe can help us especially during the crisis, because sometimes most of the activity is not having here, but it's having in Vietnam, for example. So those are the things that we can leverage on. So I think, so thank you very much to Timur Education.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting. I think that's all on my slides. So
Thank you so
I think
much,
that's
madam.
So that's it. Okay.
Yeah. Kejap, madam.
Yeah.
Just on the previous slide kejap.
Okay. Which one?
Yeah, we're going to introduce
this one.
Imran from Timba Education.
This
to
one or
present.
this one? This one.
This
Timba
one.
Education
Okay,
tadi.
please.
Yang dengan Pak Airil tu.
Oh, patut. Handsome.
Oh, handsome kan?
Sudah lah. Okay.
Okay.
Adi.
Now I'd like to present Imran. He is part of Timba Education, so he has something to share to all of our participants with Timba Education.
Okay,
Imran?
okay. Thank you, Adi. Thank you, Airil. And thank you, Madam, for giving me the floor. Hello, everyone. So by the end of this slot, you will realize that Timba Education provides the best value if you compare us to others. Before I get into the services that we provide, just to let you know that the SBR long hours IRC will be commencing in around 1 more month, and the number of students, the class is almost full. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into it. So last sitting, Timba Education we managed to get 86% passing rate for our SBR. So Saire, can you share a bit with us what's the condition of the students who joined us last sitting, and what's the outcome of their results?
I think most of the students with us, they were really good students, madam. I think ini orang kata ni pelapis bangsa lah. They are the future leaders.
Good.
You know,
Inshallah.
very committed. You know, the generation that we have today are totally different. I would say that they are actually the doers. You know, so this is the era of the doers, whereby especially dengan all the technology coming in semua kan. So yeah. Now I think madam, let's just close off the session with the quotes that you live by.
Okay. Where is this? Okay, this quote. I actually, yes, it's really my quotes all this time. I think, of course, there's lots of ups and downs. So
we can see, we can see when you are sharing with us. Ni dah sejam ni. Lebih.
Sorry. Oh my god. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. You should tell me earlier. Tell me.
Tak apa.
Okay.
Time move fast bila puasa and MCO.
Oh, itu. Okay. So basically, live life with passion, because it lies the energy that will make you fly. Because for me, whenever you have passion, whatever you do, even though it's something that you never liked, even never thought before, you're going to strive to make it the best. So try to have the best with it. Okay.
Kata-kata smart daripada Madam Zetty. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, beri tepukan I gemuruh.
I gemuruh.
Balik tu. I tepukan gemuruh. Yeah, right. Thanks so much, Amanda
Okay.
Zetty, for the sharing. Now we'll
Okay,
move
thank
to
you.
our participants
Okay.
for any question. I did come across with one question by Sharit Sohaimi. He asked, when do you think our economy will recover?
Okay. I think like one of the slide I mentioned that Bank Negara already mentioned during this MCO we can foresee that the economy will only get the GDP will only get like 0.5% instead of like 4.3% in 2019. So because of this issue, and then we're going to open up all the sectors again, and then to make sure that the wound is not that deep, and then at least we can help the economy to strengthen further. And I cannot say exactly whether it can recover really that fast, but I hope by end of this year we're going to get at least by 2%. So if we have moved more than 0%, is actually not to say good, it's not good, but then at least we are recovering. Okay, so I just hope that everyone is playing their role, even though we are opening up, because I don't want once we open up the MCO and then we lift up the MCO, just living with the condition, but then still people not focusing on the condition and do as a normal basis like previous. So that will be bringing another cluster. Another cluster, another what they call it, like the third wave of the COVID-19. So if let's say we are coming with the third wave, it's going to be a problem. So for us, I think for everyone, we need to stay home. We need to be like responsible. Yes, responsible to whatever that we need to do, and follow all the conditions that have been guideline have been mentioned by the government.
Yep. I mean, the government implementation is one thing, but us as the citizens must play our role to ensure that we can solve the coronavirus. Now, next we have next question. Okay, by Ayman Zafri. In your opinion, does the general public and businesses have the rights to question the reliability of this figure in evaluating the opportunity cost of MCO by requesting a more transparent breakdown of this loss, as mentioned by our PM?
I think Adi, Aiman is referring to the 2.4 billion losses per day. So he is questioning whether can the general or the general public and businesses question on the number. So what is the basis of the number of that 2.4 billion? Yeah.
Okay. The 2.4 billion, which I know is actually based on the Ministry of what research by the Ministry of Finance. Okay, if you're talking about basis, it's not that you cannot question what is the how are they coming up with the figure whatsoever, but then because you have the right. I mean, if you ask whether businesses have the right, yes, they have the right, but then for them to come up exactly on the figure, there will be some calculation based on the current activity, whatever income transaction per day, because Bank Negara is looking at it. Even MOF is also looking and work together with Bank Negara on it. I think everyone knows about it. So if you just ask me whether do they have the right or not? Yes, they have the right, but it's how the government will share the breakdown with it, because once they share it, they will create lots of questions. So those are the things. It's just like whatever happened before, like when the first the Pakatan take over the government, they share the information to all the public, but then for some public, it's not everyone can accept the figure, because for some of them they will take it in a different thinking. They have a different way of a perception of looking at the figure. So the government is telling A, but then they looking at A.5. So those are the things. So to be safe, that's the reason why, to be safe, it is better not. But then if you ask whether you have the right, we live in a country that have a transparent, have a right, high integrity. So I think yes. Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
And
Okay,
thank you
thank
for
you.
that. Next is Iman Nabiha. She asks,
Mhm.
many people are having fears about opening some businesses and the conditions that are laid. How do we help, or maybe the government should do to calm and provide assurance to people?
Okay, of course, at this kind, I think this question, okay, because when you say having fears about opening some businesses, you have to to refer to which businesses. Okay, if you're talking about the businesses that relates to non-essentials, of course, most of them are starting to worry whether they should open up this kind of business or not. But trust me, these kind of businesses, even though they are not under the essential services, not under the essential products, goods, and whatsoever, they are still needed in the country because, like I mentioned before, we need to strengthen our supply chain. Okay, for some, like what we have a discussion before, what we are thinking that the government will open up 2 weeks MCO, let everyone to produce 100%, for example, and then uh, close up all of it, leave up only the anchor company after 2 weeks, so that they have 100 capacity. So we are thinking that the government will do that, but it's not. So, so basically, if we are talking about the how the government plan now, I don't think there's any issue on or fears to opening up any businesses. And if you can if you are aware that the current, even the property price, even the rental price, what else, even the oil price, most of it going down already. So, so for
Yeah.
those who have money, you have to take the opportunity. This is the opportunity cost.
Yeah.
So why not?
So that means, right,
Mhm.
again to answer Iman, and also I think Anis is also asking the same thing, almost similar question.
Yep.
At the end of the day, is the matter of how all of us are actually playing our
Yeah.
role.
Yep.
So us as the household, as the rakyat, and again for the SMEs and businesses, make sure they would actually comply with the SOPs lah.
Yeah. I
Correct.
think the most important part is
Correct.
our responsibility, our
Yes.
effort.
Yeah. The effort, yes, correct.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
But I do understand the concerns that the people of Malaysia is concerned about, because a lot have this assumption that people are breaking the rules
Yeah.
even before the CMCO, macam tak ada apa-apa, macam okay,
Yeah.
kena bayar 1,000, I can duduk Bukit Kiara,
Sanggup kan?
Kiara macam keadaan.
Well, I can.
So I think that's the concern that people have.
Yeah.
But hopefully, insyaAllah, kita berdoa lah that
Yeah.
things will go well for all of us. With
Okay.
that, thank you so much, Madam Zetty, for your
Thank
time.
you.
And
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
to you.
for your insights and for your input.
Okay.
Okay.
And your experience.
Thank you.
On behalf of Timba Education, Madam, thank you so much for making your time available to all of us.
Okay.
I think it is very insightful lah for the information that you've shared with us, tu kan?
Okay.
And then for other participants, wait for our email at the end of this session. All right, we have a gift for you as usual. Mesti ada hadiah, so make sure you check our email. Fill up the feedback form. If you have any concern, any topics that you want to cover for you, we are here for you in making the world a better place. All right, so thank you. All right.
All right.
So,
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
Okay. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi